Oh, so welcome to oh, YouTube did something different. They changed the I guess the font of the like of the, and how many people are watching. I'm surprised. We're back to our usual Saturday stream. It's been a really interesting week. There's been a lot of developments and crazy things happening in the background. Um Pretty much all of the events that were major this week were kickstarted by a um relative like bad mouthing me, not to my face, but just doing this like saying a bunch of nasty stuff about like, oh, all he does is this, that, or the other. So I was on Tuesday very irritated by this because I hate it when people who don't talk to you, who don't ask you how you're doing, nothing, feel like they know everything about you. So I decided to go on this website and apply for some different positions. And I've done this before in the past. And usually what happens is you get maybe one interview and a bunch of rejection emails. But in the case, and I don't think I applied any more than I, because I usually fill out like 10 or 20 of these at once, and then a few days pass, fill out some more. Um, I got a lot of responses. I think like 5 or 6, and I was starting to think that there was some kind of glitch in the system. I had to like blink or pinch myself because I thought I was dreaming. So on Wednesday, I had 3 interviews. Now, the first one was to this dog place. And what they do is basically keep people's dogs for them when they go overseas, when they go, out of town, when they just go somewhere where they can't bring the animal with them. And the recruiter, or I guess the person I spoke to, interviewer, told me that sometimes they have up to 30 dogs just together. And this isn't really a thing that's known about me too much online, but I for the most part like animals. I usually just haven't owned one since I was a kid because of like living conditions, and really there's just nowhere to put them. But I'm well acquainted with them as far as being around them constantly and knowing what types of things to do to try and calm them down, etc. Um, so they tell me to come back on Thursday for what they call a test run, which is basically I'm supposed to go there for 2 hours and they'll put me around these pups of all varying shapes and sizes. And if I, like I guess perform well, I'll hear something back regardless. But it's just to like familiarize me with the environment. So I go there on Thursday, um, and they take me into these back parts where they have the dogs separated by different sizes. And the recurring theme with all these dogs is that they bark at someone they've never seen before, which is just what's going to happen because you've never been introduced to them in the past. And I follow the instructions to get on my knees, or not get on my knees, but just like to not hover over them, just kind of either stand regularly or get on your knees or like bend, crouch over, some kind of, just these different positions to make them more comfortable with me as a stranger. And I pet some of them. I have when we get to the larger ones, one of them actually tried to bite my hand. Um, Another one also tried humping my leg, and it was really interesting because that same dog that tried to do that actually arrived with its owner around the same time that I did. So it was like it's saw me outside, and it was gearing up for this attack. Um, but they have other like instructions, like they tell me to pick up this, move it over here. Basically, I do everything I'm asked and told. I'm nice to the dogs. I even pick one up and hold it like a baby because there's one that was, if you stop petting it, it would start crying. And after 2 hours of this, I am kind of tired because when I bend over, or like I guess kind of like like go like this, it hurts my back sometimes. Because that position is just not one I can really be in for too long. Like I can either just stand up straight or like it's harder to be in these other types of positions for a continuous period. And when you're petting some animal that's way shorter than you are, that's the kind of stuff you have to do. But anyways, I'm nice to the dogs. I do all of what I'm told, and I leave there, feeling as if I tried as hard as I could. And so I get an email the next day, and they're like, "Hi, thanks for coming in. Unfortunately, we have decided to go in another direction. Best of luck to you." And I was just sitting here thinking to myself, because this was I had another place that like the other two places that I did interviewed with, both sounded like they want me and sounded much more appealing. But I guess what I'm kind of irritated by is that I have this group of people, both online and in real life, who have, they have swallowed they have sipped from the crack cup of the just world fallacy, which is this belief that when something doesn't go your way, overwhelmingly, it's almost always your fault. So if these people knew about this circumstance, they would say, "Oh, it was your fault that you didn't get this job." And I've always explained that the reason I don't like to wallow in sitting around and sticking a finger in my own face and going, I did this, I did," is because I don't think it's productive. I don't think there's anything to gain from continuously trashing yourself because of a decision that somebody else made, especially when you remember that I had no idea what full type of job this even was. They explained some things, sure, but I still was someone who's never done this before, so I can't be expected on a test run, not even a real first day, to do everything immediately correctly. And we've also explained before the external factors that these people love to ignore, which is that a lot of times these different jobs people will apply sometimes in mass. I talked about how I applied to a bakery 2 years ago. Um, and I walk in there and the manager tells me after the interview that he has 4 positions available and 40 people applying for them, and I have told everyone since, if I knew that many other people were trying to get that little basic itty bitty position that's not even really worth anything, I wouldn't have even bothered. Like, I just think it's a complete waste of everybody's time to sit here and make it seem like someone has a chance and then you've got another person in your back pocket that you're gonna pick anyway. Because with me, I'm not really committed to any of these places. I'll fill out some stuff and write and whatever. But really, my mission has just been whichever one seems the most appealing based off of what I hear before. And there we go from that. I don't know. I'm just tired of employers and all the ripping and running they want you to do. Like if you're not going to hire somebody, don't have them come back for whatever that was, just to waste their time for 2 hours. And like I had one guy who was trying to learn my name when I was leaving, and I was just thinking in the back of my head, man, it would be a shame if all of this didn't happen. And really that's what is so irritating about that in retrospect. Like you just sat here and got mauled by these dogs and I guess tried to familiarize yourself with them for hours on Thursday for nothing. So I said people like a lot of these jobs just love wasting time and like doing things that don't amount to anything. Because I remember I told you about the position I had back in February, and with that place, it's like they try to get you to learn about all these different, you know, things with regards to like you move this here, you stock this here, et cetera, how to work the cash register, and it's like, what's the point of teaching somebody how to do all of this stuff if you're just going to get rid of them after a couple of weeks anyway? But that's why I said that it just seems like every position is trying to fast track you to learning a bunch of stuff just to get rid of you after a short amount of time because this is what they do. They don't have a desire to really be something different, to try and like actually say, hey, we know when people are starting out, they've never done these types of things before, we should give them a chance. And I feel like a lot of times when they bring you in for for that like a test run or just for anything where they want you to come back a second time, that's them basically trying to make themselves feel less guilty about like leading you on as far as, oh, you might get hired by us if we like who we see. They have no intention of doing that. Heck, I have a higher chance of getting hired by a place that just wanted to have a phone call with me. This other place even said they only want me to come over there one time with all the stuff, and then I start. And I was like, wow, that's way more productive than having me drive back and forth between, or excuse me, Uber back and forth between two different cities, or whatever, like just to for nothing. Yeah, the whole thing is just really sad. I don't know. It's just really weird. Oh my God, Envoy came back for a second stream. I haven't seen him since he got divorced from his fourth wife. So I guess he's using my stuff to cope because you can never just watch my channel because you enjoy the content. You're using it to vent your frustrations with being unsuccessful with getting a women. They love saying that old psychological stupid crap. Um, he writes, "Hi Justin. What's also weird is that they claim there are labor shortages, but at the same time, people are still struggling to cover the cost of living. You haven't seen me since the Reagan administration, too." Um, it's funny you mentioned that because somebody wrote a book on Nancy Reagan, and it came out like either last year or earlier this year, and I got it, and I still haven't read it because I've had so much other stuff I'm trying to read. Like I don't even think I took it out of the mailing package. No, that job was really crazy. Like being surrounded every day by 30 dogs and then having to like clean up after all of them and break up fights. But again, it's like that's the type of thing where even if it's not my ideal position, it still would be to an extent fulfilling because you're actually um like I guess protecting some of them from others, and there are people that actually care about these dogs, which is why they leave them there and they intend to come back and get them. Um by the way, some of those dogs they were really crazy looking. They had one dog that looked like something like one of those wolves you see in from the North Pole. It was all white, and it would probably be big enough to cover like my whole camera screen, like that one. And then they had two, I think they were golden retrievers, where they were so massive I could picture a little child like riding on one of those like a horse. Oh, that thing was massive. I like the white one because it was nice. It would just let you come up and pat it. It wouldn't do any of the barking. It just seemed like it was having a good old time. It seemed way more well behaved than the other ones. I always thought that was so interesting about dogs, how they can be the same um I guess breed and have completely different personalities, because one of the ones they had there just kept barking over and over and over even after all the other ones had just calmed down, and it would come up and then you would try to pet it and it go hey hey hey, and I just said forget it. So I just always thought that was the most interesting thing about animals, like just the little subtle personality differences that they have. Yeah, I got her right. I had one. I told you I had. They do this thing where they come up to you and they throw both of their paws to like try to like I guess grab you by the shirt or something. And like I said, I had one of them that kept humping me on with its. I swear these some of these paws are like arms. They latch on to you like they're holding on for dear life. Um, and like I said, I'm just so frustrated by the fact that we sat there and put up with that stupid crap for 2 hours just to get told, "Oh, sorry, we found somebody else. Goodbye forever." That's why I said that, like, I get really irritated with these employers because they do this thing I really hate, where they do little, like, subtle ways of leading you into believing something is going to amount to another thing, and then they just pull the rug from under you. That's why I said when I had the job in February, they were showing me how to, do all of the different activities, like the cash register where stuff is located. And you think, oh, this person's going to work here a long time. That's why they keep teaching them all this stuff. Oh no, after 2 weeks, they start threatening to fire you. It's like, well, what was the point of me learning how to do all this stuff? I've been looking into our generation compared to baby boomers and Gen X in comparison to how they got affordable houses while you have folks in their 20s and 30s struggling here. Like I said, the cost of living, and the wages have not kept up with each other. So, I if I remember correctly, the average apartment in California cost 1,800, which means that even if I were to work every single day, like let's say a minimum wage, right? For so every day, Monday through Friday for 4 weeks, that's like what? A little bit over $2,000. So you're going to be left with maybe 200, 300 of stuff you can use for other things. Um, and remember that because people they do the same stupid thing. You could always just go to school. Well, if you go to school, who's going to pay for your living expenses while you're attending this institution? And remember, unless you have a support group, like I told you before, my best friend was able to go and graduate out of state because his parents were paying for it. You could be saddled with debt for the next 10, 20, 30 years of your life, which accumulates interest and will take even longer to pay off. It's never easy, man. If you don't have a really good support group, you are screwed. I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat it. Like if you see how much paperwork and stuff that these employers want you to fill out to where you could realistically spend a whole week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even longer than that just trying to start on day 1 at some position, on top of like a lot of these places, and we mentioned the scam before, refusing to hire. So you'll put on your application, I want to work 40 hours a week. A lot of them will purposely hire you for like 10, 20, 25 because they want to show that they've hired more people because it looks good on their data. But then they don't disclose the fact that, yeah, we hired all these people, but we're not giving them anywhere near the amount of hours necessary for them to live off of our stupid job. That's why I said it almost seems like if you really want to make it, you have to have 2 jobs and you have to have like 1 on the weekdays, 1 on the weekends, and it's really not it's really scary to think about that because everyone's solution is just to go back to school, and they never mention the debt or how you're gonna get out of it. They just don't care. They just wanna lead you off a bridge so they can feel better about themselves. Yeah, you're damned if I even had the same thing with my family members. I said they play the same scheme or scam every year. If you go to school, you need to have a job so you can take care of yourself and you can't be relying on the rest of us. If you get a job, this job doesn't pay enough. You need to go to school so you can heighten the chances of getting a job that pays you more and you'll have more disposable. You see how like if you go to school, they tell you to get a job. You get a job, they tell you to go. So it's like either way, you just can't win. Remember, we were talking about that Twilight Zone stuff with the chicks, where if you ask one of them out, um, and they say no, it's your fault. If you don't ask any of them out and like get nothing from them because chicks never approach men, it's still your fault. Like it's your fault for not getting with the woman if you approach one of them, and it's your fault for not getting with one of them if you don't approach them. It's never going to be their fault for not asking out men that they think are attractive. It's your fault because of what you do, and it's your fault for what she does too. You have to work extra just to live when you have downtime, you realize you're missing out on earning money, so it's a never-ending saga, and then there's having kids too. I don't know, man, it seems like and I was gonna do a video about this, the never-ending accidental pregnancies, where it really does seem like every time someone I know has a kid, it's always by accident. Like, I've never seen a man and a woman in my entire like, I'm not talking about the stuff on the news or on the internet, I'm talking about people in real life. I've never seen a man and a woman in my lifetime get married and then decide we're going to have a family. I've never seen what ends up happening is it's some stupid woman and guy and they forget to use protection or a one night stand. Like it's never done in any way that gives the kid an actual chance of surviving. It's really sad. That's why I said that it's really awful that that people are like this. Like they have allowed themselves to become complacent with this idea of like, hey, let's never actually improve the conditions of our children. Let's always have them in these poor neighborhoods and with parents that can't afford to give them anything because they didn't plan them out. Let's just keep perpetuating this same saga of poverty forever and ever. I told you I had that one stupid. I think that was a guy pretending to be a woman, but I had this one idiot who was like, "Your views are so old fashioned." It's like, yeah, I'm sorry that I don't want to have kids unless I can actually take care of them. My mistake. I'm sorry that I'd rather not speak to a woman for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months who's just going to turn me down anyway and have me talking to another one of them for a whole year just to get the same result. Sorry that doesn't seem appealing to me. I'm sorry I noticed the disparity where you have people who talk about what can you do for a woman, but they never ask what can a woman do for you. Real sorry I noticed all those things. I tell you, the most ironic stuff in the world is just like all the different relationships I've seen where the guy pays for something for the woman. And then like I just think to myself, you are never going to get the reverse version. Now, you're never going to have a woman who cooks for you. You're never going to have a woman who, if you need like let's say a computer or some other thing, equipment, whatever, goes and buys it for you. You're never going to see a woman who, if you need to go to some place, will drive you over there. I mean, and again, it's like all this stuff men do for chicks because they want to be with them in these romantic relationships, but it's never done on the part of the woman. So it's like, what good are they? If they're not going to add anything to your life in any conceivable manner, then what is even the purpose of pursue? So I said it's just I'm so disillusioned with that whole section as far as I'm concerned. Okay, Alvaro Wright still amused me over how you need a license to carry a firearm, need a license to drive, need to be over 21 to drink in bars, but to make a baby, all you need is functioning genitals. And that's why I said that American society and just the stuff people think is normal is really sad. Like I was I think you might not have you probably weren't here for this, but I spoke to this broad on Piscord several months back, and I was telling her about that whole saga from 5 years ago where I had this woman who was Muslim. Her religion bars her from dating. I asked her to marry me. She says yes. After a couple of days, she reneges, really upset me because why would you agree to something as major as this just to backtrack? And this woman's response was to say something to the effect of, "Oh, you were only this age. It's too young to get married." I was like, "Ho, do you know all the damn teenagers that have kids? And you're gonna sit here and tell me that I can't get married to somebody? You got to get damn." She like after I said that, she backed off. But it was like these people really convinced themselves that there's like this specific age you need to be to do things that are factually much less what's the way of putting it? Damaging to one's life than having kids. But then when people have kids, they don't say anything about it. They don't protest. They don't tell them that they're too young. None of that. Um, because I said before, getting married is much easier, or at least it should be much easier than having a child because you don't have to have some big extravagant ceremony. You can go to a courthouse, pay $100, you get a marriage license. If you're worried about your partner taking your stuff, you can have them sign a prenuptial agreement. Um, And if you really don't want like, if you wanna do a real life retcon, you can just get it annulled so it never like, people can pretend like it never happened in the first place. So, any way you slice it, getting married is a much less consequential thing than having a kid, but you'll see more people protesting me for wanting to get married than you will see people protesting those that have children they can't afford, which is why I said that's how backwards people are at this point. Yeah, all you need is functioning genitals. Like I said, it's a real shame that people act the way that they do. Just the types of things that they think are important and decide to fixate on. It's really, really unfortunate because there's a lot of them who seem to genuinely want to have conversations about this stuff, but I can't be expected to participate in a dialogue when a person is purposefully either missing the point of what I'm saying or trying to derail it into a topic on something else. So the main point of bringing that woman up is to talk about how you can have a person agree to a major thing like that, and after a couple of days they renege, and there's something wrong with being able to make a commitment like that just to, walk away so abruptly. But instead of addressing how screwed up that is, you're gonna sit there and go, "Oh, I think you were too young to get married. I think you were too young to get married. I think you were too." So that's why I said we don't need to have conversations with people like that. And that's one of the reasons why I was talking about how you have a lot of these different internet individuals I've spoken to, and they go, "Oh, he doesn't like different opinions." I said, "Listen, if you want to talk about some movie or some show you don't like that I like, whatever, you want to talk about some political view, for the most part, I'm fine with that as well. I've spoken to people that disagree with me on that stuff too. But when it comes to things in my personal life that have affected me in some negative way, it's not your place to speak on them. It's not your place to try and like tell me I'm thinking about this, because this has nothing to do with you. Like I said, my best friend, we share a lot of views on the romance stuff. Like he thinks it's a waste of time as well. But he would like still go out and I always would tell him, you do what you want. Whatever decisions you want to make, it is not of concern to me. I'm not your dad. I'm not in any figure of authority to tell you how you should live your life or how you should feel about stupid stuff that modern women do. So I just think it's so interesting how like a lot of people that you speak to, it's like the two camps they fall into that get on my nerves are the ones that are either apathetic, like the guy we were talking about on Monday who's like, I that's not subject to change, and I'm not particularly interested, that stupid trash. And the other type are these people rather who try to stick their nose in everything and become very invested in stuff that has nothing to do with them, which is what is like a major turnoff for me and makes me not want to talk to them because again, this is none of your business. No, friendships can work, but people have to be able to have some kind of boundaries for what lines they're willing to cross. And I just think too many people believe someone is like really desperate and they'll just talk to anybody, no matter what types of things they say to or about them. And sometimes you just have to put your foot down and say, "Hey, look, I'm not putting up with this." I mean, the same thing happened with Triple L when she tried to like tell me about how there was something I could have done with the relatives not paying for me to go to school. I said, "Listen, I explained to these people in multiple conversations that were pretty fairly long why they should do this, why I needed this, and they chose not to. So who are you to tell me what I should have done?" I almost stopped speaking to her after that because it's like I don't care how attractive some woman is. You're not going to sit here and try to like make me the culprit in stuff other people decided to do. Yeah, there's a lot of scummy individuals who just they just think they have some kind of authority to talk on stuff that has nothing to do with them. And I believe that if you're going to voluntarily speak to people, so it's not like this is my job and I have to listen to these people. If you're going to voluntarily speak to other individuals, they should offer something besides being obnoxious. Because I do find it very annoying to have another individual try to tell you what you should have done with this thing that they weren't even there for, especially when you know that they have no idea what happened or are like basically assuming some position that's very they have the benefit of hindsight. People act like something is really wrong with them. Yeah, so I went to 3 interviews on Wednesday. I went back to that dog place on Thursday. I got the rejection email from them on Friday. I'm supposed to be going to some other place on Monday morning, which means apparently I won't be able to stream on Monday because they want me to come in at like 6 in the morning, and I'm not gonna leave until like apparently 2:30 in the afternoon, which is like so if I ever have stuff that comes up and it's because I try to like stream at 10, if it's before that, usually it ends around the time I would start streaming anyway. And if it's like let's say early in the afternoon, I try to stream earlier than usual to like still do the same. So pretty much they basically made it to where if I stream, it's gonna either be later that day or because I really don't feel like sitting there for no 2 hours before going to some supposedly 8 hour shift. So I'll probably just put up a video on that day and then maybe stream on like Tuesday or Wednesday or something. Just switch up a little bit. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Oh no, these jobs can get pretty irritating. I guess for me, I'm always most annoyed by the idea that you're supposed to sit here and fill out a whole bunch of applications. And then when that doesn't work out, you're supposed to like keep doing it. And then when one of them says, "Hey, we want to meet with you," it's always more annoying that those ones don't work out because you don't hear back from most people you apply to. So you always think that there's a heightened chance of getting something the more people you hear back from. And I just really hate the idea of like driving around to all these different interviews and nothing comes out of it. Like because I've had so many of these pricks, they will smile in your face, they will giggle, they will grin, they will go hee hee hee, but it just doesn't amount to anything except a waste of your time. That's why I prefer I'm really at a point where I just would prefer like if everything was over the phone or something, because at least then you don't have to get up and go and drive over to this place that's like 10 miles away. And of course, they always reject you over the phone. They never do it to your face unless they fire you. Man, it's really sad that because we talked about how like we're at a point in like society is so backwards that if you want just basic stuff, it's too much, according to people, or you're supposed to put in this exuberant amount of effort. So imagine this, like let's say you just want a job where you work 40 hours a week, you can take care of yourself. You'll do minimum wage, do a little bit above minimum wage. Like you're not picky about wage or anything, just enough hours to where you can make, something that is equivalent to being able to actually sustain your living conditions, right? So this seems like a pretty basic thing. A lot of people have had jobs for years. Imagine my surprise when you actually have individuals online who believe you're supposed to apply to 100 places, 200 places, 300 places. I mean, I have so many damn job applications in my email that I'm pretty sure if we counted all the ones between this year and last year, it might actually be half a thousand. And it's like you're not getting rejected by all these places. They just don't say anything back. But they're hiring and they need you. And remember, the ones that say they're hiring, they'll be the first ones to get rid of you after 2 weeks. If you make one mistake, they'll remember hire to fire. That's their new scheme, so they can meet their little lousy quota. I'm telling you, I really tried to be professional when I go. Like I had the manager at the place I worked at in February saying I was shy. I was like, no, I'm just trying to be professional because um if I start talking off the cuff, I might say something that's not as what's a good way of describing it? That may be considered, because the problem with the workplace a lot of times, at least in my opinion, is that they're so rigid about stuff where, like, I am genuinely afraid to compliment, like, a coworker, like, "Oh, nice jacket," because you look at the stuff they put in there, um, and they tell you, "Oh, don't compliment this person. Don't talk about the way they look. This is harassment." So, I even though when I was the place I was working at in February, I had a whole bunch of people say things about my appearance, but whatever. The customers can do whatever they want, pretty much. Envoy writes, "You end up developing a callous heart when searching for jobs because so many companies play around." Yeah, you just become desensitized to the idea of even actually finding somewhere that's going to hire you and keep you on for more than a couple of weeks. And these places do play around. That same dog place, I looked in my email. I applied to them back in June, and they told me, "Oh, we already found somebody. Thank you." So whoever they found apparently didn't work out for them to still be looking for people. Dude, the place I worked for last year, I was there for a month, but I only had maybe like 9 days. I'll always remember that in front of the store they had a now hiring sign, and that stupid thing stayed up there for the entire month I was there. Now hiring, now hiring, now hiring, now hiring, now hiring. Man, hire to fire, the new scheme of employers of the 21st century. I should do a video how to be a sleazy employer or something, like how to be an excrement employer, where it's like first you start with the now hiring sign, then you put up your application to make yourself sound desperate. Oh, we need you, we need you. Then you meet with new applicants, you hire a few of them, you try to get rid of them in less than 2 weeks of employing them, because that's what we do. What's scary is just knowing you could be disposed of at any given day happens a lot when new management comes around. Yeah, man, but it's like, what the paradox for me is that these places are told by me, for example, on the applications, "I've never done this type of work before. I don't know how to do this stuff." So that should inherently tell you that if someone's going to hire you after knowing that you don't know how to do this stuff and then still try to get rid of you after like less than 2 weeks because you're not as proficient as they would like you to be, that shows you they're moving on either some extremely ridiculous bell curve of time, or they just don't care. And like some of the stuff they get caught up on is so stupid. Like I remember the one from last year. There's some kind of like trick for making some type of food. You're supposed to like lift it with your hand. And I'm not joking. The manager actually said that he didn't know how to show me how to do this because I was left-handed. And I was like, what professional establishment have you ever seen that would tell an employee, "Hey, I don't know how to teach you how to do this thing with food because you happen to write with your left hand." Like, that's crazy as hell. You're gonna tell me I'm the first person in world history that worked there that was left-handed? They've never had anybody in the entire, I don't know how many decades of that crappy store being around. That's written with their left hand before me. I was the first one. Oh my god. But yeah, it is scary to know you can just be disposed of at any given, because both times they did it to me came as a surprise. And it's not because I thought I was like the best employee ever, but because before they do that, they usually like gas you up. "Oh, good job on learning how to handle these phone calls. Good job on learning how to check people's items out. Good job on being able to do this." And then after hearing all this praise and bootlicking and whatever. It's like the next thing you hear is, we are considering terminating your employment with regards to your insufficient ability. And you're like, what? So yeah, that's why I said you can't get attached to any of these bastards, man. They try to act nice. I answer questions. I show a little bit of my personality, but for the most part, I just show up and come with the full expectation that you can be employed on Monday and fired on Tuesday, because that's what they do. They look for any reason to get rid of somebody. I mean, it's just like our favorite senator Joe Manchin likes to say. I even did a video with this as the title. You can be a hero one day and a villain the next. They can love you and talk about how great of a job you're doing on Monday, and then the next day they're asking for your they're handing you your pink slip. You should have seen my face. I had the mask on, but it's like he really wanted me to believe that in the whole history of this major establishment being around, they have never had either a left-handed employee or some person that can do this proficiently who happens to be left-handed. So I'm just supposed to like figure out how to do this by myself, which is just another nail in my coffin because he's going to be like upset that I don't know. But it's like you didn't even show me how to do this stuff, and you use my hand as the excuse for not showing me how to do it. Yeah, I was the only other person in my, I guess, I don't want to say immediate family. I guess like you go back like to the previous generation. Between my parents, my maternal grandparents, and my paternal grandparents, and my brother as well. The only other person that is left-handed is my grandmother. Everybody, like my parents are right-handed, brother is right-handed, everybody else is right-handed except. So I know it's a very rare thing, but it's like there's clearly enough people who like, you know what I'm saying? You don't like this place has hired thousands of people. I'm not I refuse to believe that I was the first one that ever came there that was left-handed. That's just the most stupid thing that they came up with. What it is that it probably would be harder to teach someone who has to do it with the other hand, and he doesn't really want to be bothered with it, so he just says, "Oh, learn it by yourself," and then he's going to use it to get rid of you later anyway. These managers, man, they are some nutcases. I was the first left-handed employee. No, I couldn't believe that when I heard it. I really can't think of a time where, because I've seen, for example, writing classes where they teach students how to write. And you have students that are left-handed in there, and they're being taught by teachers that write with their right hand. So I don't know. It just seems really weird to me that like you would I don't call it discrimination, but I don't know. It's just weird that like that's something that even matters that much. Yeah, that place was a real hellhole. That's why I said it just seems so pointless to me that they show you how to do all this stuff and then they just get rid of you after a short amount of time. It's like, here's where we pick up stuff for the dogs, and here's where it's like you're gonna show me how to do all this just so I can be told I'm not good enough to work here tomorrow. It's like, man, that was a really fulfilling day for me. I'm not as torn up about it because of the other two places, but that was really annoying because that was the only one where I've like been up there multiple times and it was for nothing. And then by the way, I had one of my oh so lovely, oh so helpful, oh so amazing, oh so terrific relatives asked me yesterday, "Oh, how's the job search? Have you had any second interview?" And I was just thinking to myself, why is it? that in all the time that this job saga has gone on, it's been several years now, none of these people, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, out of the like, because it's not, I've said before, it's not that big a group. It's maybe like 3, 4 people that have expressed some kind of like real discontent with me being unemployed. It's funny how none of them ever can be bothered to show the slightest bit of interest in actually helping me with getting a position. They don't put in any referrals. They don't give any endorsements. They don't say, "Hey, we're going to sit down on Saturday and we're going to fill a whole bunch of these." I just find that really interesting. How like the people who claim to care about you the most and trash you the most for not having this thing that you clearly want, which is why you applied all these different places, cannot be bothered to actually assist you with applying to those different places. Um, which is why I said that, like, I'm just at a point where I accepted that a lot of them will say things, but it's, no, the Frieza stuff was only 6 days in in canon. This is like the Cell Saga where they train for 3 years for the androids. And hell, that woman stuff, that dude, that 7-year period of asking out chicks and hearing nothing back until I did that viral video and I just said, "Forget it." That was as long as the gap between Cell and Boo. That's 7 years. So I got tired of that, man. Like people are like they want you to just jump through hoops forever with this stuff. I'm not even joking. I think some people online um will like when they go and say, "Oh, you're too young to blah, blah, blah." I think a lot of them believe that if you are a certain age, you're going to just automatically live forever. So any screwed up stuff that happens between you and women is pretty much regulated to just like a growing pain type thing, even though, like I said, the same group of people will blame you for what happens with them anyway and tell you that you need to transform and do all this other stuff to even have a chance with their conceited behind. So it's really interesting how like a lot of the ageism like obsession that people have online is tied around this idea that um that I am going to live forever or am like somehow immortal because they think that they are. And guys, like I said, I'll never believe that you should have to wait years to get a date. Like you ask out maybe like 2, 3, 4, 5 chicks, and if you don't hear anything back after that, that's ridiculous. And you should have talked no bimbo for no um 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Forget that. Dude, I remember I had this one broad on Discord, and she was I met her in some like video game server. And I asked her, we spoke from October to like June or July of this year, right? Which is I don't even know how many months. It's like that's like 8, 8 or 9, 9, 10. Some amount that's like most of a year, right? So I asked her, "What do you want out of this correspondence that we have?" And she tells me that she has no expectations. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is the same broad who tells me about personal stuff with her, how her and her sister don't get along, and what type of job she has, which I didn't ask because I don't inquire about stuff like that because it's not my business. But it's like if you have no destination for where this is going to go, then I might as well just cut it off. This is a waste of everybody's time, and that's what I did. I said, "Hey, we're done." Seriously, like a lot of them do get off on this idea of just having this oasis of guys to speak to that are just going to keep talking to them forever because they have nowhere else to go. And it's like I would really rather just not talk to any of them if this is the best they can be. If all they can be is typing stupid stuff and having no idea for how it's going to evolve, I would rather just cut them all out entirely because I am not benefited by that in any capacity. I'll tell you, man, it used to be so simple. You could go up to some woman, you can introduce yourself, you ask her out, you go on a date, she likes it, you go on another one. You repeat this oh so many times for several months or a year, then you get married. It's like they really have turned it into this dragged out, stretched out process that just never advances in any capacity. Like I remember I told you about the broad last year that asked me on a date and then I accepted, and then she's gonna sit here and talk about, oh, I want to get to know you first. I want you to meet my parents. It's like, look, I agreed to going to meet your behind somewhere. I did not agree to all of these sub prologues and side quests. Man, forget that. And somebody might say, "Oh, why don't you just do this stuff?" I said, "Listen, if you're going to have some woman who after one date says, 'I don't want to do this ever again,' what is the point of meeting her parents?" I know that if I were going on some date with some woman, for the first time, she wouldn't meet my parents because they have nothing to do with this. Online communication has made generally connecting with people at times more confusing. Yeah, but it's like they do this stuff on purpose. Like, who agrees to who like, just think of this insanity. You ask somebody out on a date and they say yes, they agree to do it. Wouldn't the next thing be actually going on the date? It would never occur to you to go, well, I really appreciate that you accepted my offer, but can we meet in person and then meet my parents and then get to know each other before doing this thing that you agreed to and that I agree to and that we both want to do apparently. But like, it doesn't make any sense when you started off with that. I hope you understand what I'm saying. The whole point of how stupid that was is that you have a person who gets what they want, but then they add additional stuff on it before it can even happen to where it like disenfranchises the other person. Honest says chicks will act difficult when you try to date her, but she will make herself easily available for next guy to date her afterwards. That reminded me of that one broad on Reddit that had 20 guys talking to her and like type because she put up the little crybaby R for R thing about F for what was it, F for M, female seeking man or whatever. And I remember I told her, "Hey, look, if you have too many men talking to you, I'm willing to clear the field." Because, like I said, these chicks are a dime a dozen. They're none of them stand out. None of them are worth doing all this stuff for. So I said, "Hey, look, if you want to just sit here and talk to your harem of men, I will walk away." And she's like, "Oh no, don't disappear because I want to speak to you, and I think you're sort of." So then I find out after she asked me to talk to her on Skype, the last days of that dying website, that she's dating some guy in real life, and I'm like, well, what was the point of even going on this other site and talking to all these men if you were just going to go meet one in real life and date that one instead? But I'll tell you what the point was. She wanted attention, and when I wouldn't give that to her anymore, she got mad, and I said, oh well. Told you they're not worth it. Oh, Megumi, you missed the part where I got mauled by dogs and had one of them humping my leg and got told to come in for this test run for this job and was familiarized with these settings just for them to tell me the next day not to come back because they found somebody else. No, I wish part of me almost wishes I did take a picture of that one dog that was white and was huge. That thing looked like something from the North Pole, like those dogs. They're like on the, where they tie them up to like the sled and they have 'em, like riding them like down the snow. Some of these dogs are huge. Holy cow, I can definitely see why the stream has this title. Yeah, I went to 3 job interviews on Wednesday, and that's the most I've ever had. I've never had more than 2. And usually I don't even have 1 a week. So I was really stuffed because this nonsense started from 10 in the morning with this dog place. Then it continued over to 12 where I got called for an interview by this other, it's like a packing company, and then um it's like this other one is it's like some program to help children or whatever, which was at like 2 something on Zoom. I was really tired after that, and then it's like the next day I had to go back up to that dog place and have the 2-hour test run where I was getting mauled by the dogs. There's like 30 of them together, and they have them separated by size. And you go up in front of them, and they have some that are kind of like cautious, and others will just go up and try to jump on you. So I was it's one of those things where if that was the only one that said something to me and had been willing to hire me, I might have taken it because I think that that's one of those things that gets easier the more around it that you are. And the only difficulty I probably would have had was like memorizing all the different dogs because there's so many of them. There's like 30 together in each of the like they have like 90 of them over there. Um, but I got my Dear John letter on Friday, or I guess yesterday morning. We have decided to go in a different direction. Best of luck to you. Like, wow, they just wasted 2 hours of my Thursday. I could have been at home sleeping. Yeah, these people love wasting time. No, Envoy, online communication is bad enough, but I really think it's mostly just down to this thing where people act weird on the internet. Like, I'm not even talking about like stuff they're into. I'm talking about like the way they act toward other people is really weird and combative and unnecessarily like distant. This got to be so irritating. Feels as if they are playing around with your life in a way. Oh, they are. They're you got your test run and uh pretty much that's one of the biggest problems I have with these employers. They always want you to come in for some interview that's like 10, 15 miles away. You drive over there, you make sure you get there on time. They smile in your face. They make it sound like you're the most interesting person ever. But then, after you get back, you hear nothing, or if you do hear something, it's a rejection letter, and you're like, well, they just wasted my time. I'll tell you, they always leave out how many other people apply for these stupid jobs. Like, I brought up the bakery example where they had 4 positions and 40 people applying for them. I was like, if I knew that, I wouldn't have even gone in for the interview. You got to play the damn lottery to get a job. Are you serious? Always says, yeah, plus people are unclear online or misinterpret what you say. And not to mention, we have a new phenomenon where people don't even want to speak to you voice to voice anymore. They want to just type stuff. Actually, I shouldn't even say people. Only weird chicks do that. I haven't met any men that are like, I don't feel comfortable talking to you in a VC or a call. It's only chicks. Dude, I remember the first time I saw that it was in 2018. I was on Reddit and I was like, look, if you're not going to speak to me voice to voice, I'm not going to continue typing all this crap to you. So I stopped speaking to that one. But that's because back then that was the first time I'd ever seen it. Now it's just a phenomenon where there's a lot of these bastards who just will not speak to you voice to voice. Like they have this really weird hang, and it's weird because again, in real life, people talk to each other like speaking instead of typing all the time. So yeah, the internet has allowed people to do some weird stuff. Telling you, I never saw that before 4 years ago. And it's like after I just did the video, I'm like, all right, I'm not even bothering with chicks anymore. I start seeing this new weird thing that they do. I wasn't privy to that yet. Oh man, they're a really irritating group of people, I'll tell you that. They sit there and they get mad over dumb stuff and they try to argue with you. And if you do one thing they don't like, they'll cut you off or they'll just abruptly stop responding. Because we do live in a pretty cowardly era where people like won't say stuff unless it's like through typing or I mean, somebody even said like a lot of people are really afraid to even use their voice in a video. Like not even just, like you say something to a person's face, but like actually speaking about why this person or something is not good. Like I told you about that guy on Discord who was like, "I don't want people to know who I am if they hear my voice." It's like, dude, nobody know like somebody hearing a random voice and having nothing to assign it to that other than it's got like an American act. Like, are you serious? I used to talk to a chick who only would want to talk by text. I wasn't romantically interested in her, but I did want to have a chill correspondence by voice. But hey, that's too tough. Oh yeah, speaking by voice is the hardest thing ever. Clicking the little call button is just. I mean, you might as well be throwing a football across the stadium. Thing I'm playing, I never saw this in all the years of like actively asking out chicks. This was never a thing. Like even the ones that got my nerves the most, and to be fair, I didn't ask like most of them for a call because a lot of them I would meet online were just like on some type in website like Reddit. But even like I just can't remember any instance in that whole 6-year period of God knows how many chicks that was, where one of them was like, "Well, I don't feel comfortable speaking to you." I never saw that until the last couple of years, and it just seems like it's been increasing. Like there's more and more of them who are doing that. That's why I said, man, forget it. Like if this is the best they can be, then there's no reason to even talk to them. Like I said, I like chicks as much as the next guy. Um, and I'll still always find them, for the most part, attractive. But like I said, if you want to look at some attractive woman, you can just go on a porn site or, I mean, heck, you could just go on Google Images if you want to see some clothed ones. So that's why I said, like, when they refuse you basic human interaction or interest, like, hey, let's have a call together. Hey, how are you doing? When that type of stuff gets denied by them to you, the whole aspect of like treating them like people pretty much goes out the window because at that point it just becomes a thing where you really have nothing that's being offered by them other than their appearance, which you can get from pretty much any part of the internet anyway. A chick can like you a lot and still reject you for a guy that she doesn't care about at all. It happens to me all the time. I don't even know if they're telling the truth when they say they like you a lot. If I showed you how many comments I have from chicks gassing me up, talking about how smart I was or whatever, and then you still get turned down. Did I tell you about that one broad that her apartment was it's like I think $700, which is way cheaper than anything out here. And I gave her the proposal that if she allowed me to move in with her, we could pay for it together. She'd be allowed to save her money. Um, and her in the past, she had said, "Oh, you're more attractive and smarter than my ex fiance, this guy that just sat around and didn't do anything for her." And I remember distinctively that it never made any sense to me how she could have this guy that out of her own mouth, unless she was lying, and we have proof of all this stuff, by the way. She was claiming was attractive, would give her a deal where she is going to benefit by being able to save her funds if she allows to move in with her, and she declined. And I was so disgusted with her because I really want you to think of it this way. She'll let and look, I'm gonna invoke race because people bring up my ethnicity all the time. She'll let this white guy sit in her house and do nothing for months on end and let him be her fiance. But then a man of an unpopular color offers to work with her to where she can save her money and, actually like not be financially hogtied. She turns that man down. The one that offers to assist her in some essential way gets rebuffed, but the one that sits on his behind gets to stay there for months on end. Like, you know what I mean? Like this, it doesn't make any sense to me. Let me see. That happened some months ago. It was one of the most insane things ever. She even tried to use her. Um, no, you know what? This was last year. Whenever I did that video on like woman tries to control me and fail, whenever I did that, I haven't seen Jem in so long. He's been over there watching secular talk instead. He's like, forget Justin when you get who needs Justin when you have Kyle and Crystal. I don't need to watch some guy on the couch when I can watch a couple in a car. They do some weird videos. They be in the car just driving, or they have where they're like sitting in a forest or the park or something. You know, stuff he never used to do when he was by himself. So, Jem, are you going to use your house to host Joe Manchin fundraisers? Help him keep his seat. But remember, if you ask him to do you any favors for helping him fundraise, like passing single payer or free college support, he'll tell you he doesn't do ironclad commitments. Yeah, it was lip service. You're gonna sit here and give this man all this praise for nothing. I see. Yeah, that's just another example of how crazy these chicks can be. Megumi, imagine if you had dated some woman who just sat on her behind all just for months, didn't help you pay for your house or any just nothing, wouldn't clean anything, nothing, just sat around, did nothing. Then you meet this other woman who out of your mouth you say is more attractive than the one you had before, and she offers to help you pay for your place if you let her stay with her. If you let her stay with you, rather. Like, who's insane enough to turn down a deal like that? Other than a completely demented woman. Like it didn't make any sense to me. At this point, Ukrainians are treated better than yeah. I told you if some of them get killed in some bombing or some like attack, it'll be on the news all day tomorrow. If one of us gets shot down in the street, it might not even make the local news. They might just sweep me off the sidewalk and go back to the usual affairs. Man, people do not care about men at all. Just not, especially if they're from over here. No, when that thing happened with her last year, I was like, yeah, this is. It was that and that other one that asked me out on a date and then started adding all those what do you call it, like meet my parents and get to know me for all the prologue stuff. I was like, yeah, this has crossed the line. You can't trust anything they say or do anymore. If they ask you on a date, it's BS. If they have some kind of explicit phone call, you know what I'm talking about, it's BS. Like just nothing. You can't trust anything they say. They need like some of these chicks need to be like Pinocchio from how and just have these like long noses from how many times because other than that, you really have no idea who's telling the truth and who isn't, unless you just start assuming that they're all liars, which really would not be far fetched from how many of them have done the same garbage. Oh, oh, it is a bad joke. He got there's some other news stories with him. I might do him put one of those up on like tomorrow, and then the other one up on Monday because I don't know him from the stream on Monday. So I have to get up at 4 in the morning. It's crazy how all these jobs want you to show up before because you know how like normal working hours are 9 to 5. They want you to come in at 6 in the morning. Like I don't know. It's just really annoying to me because it's way easier to get up at 6 and go to something at 8 than to get up at 4 and go something that's I don't know. Just I have to go to sleep really really early. Starting to hear less. You know what's so funny? I saw this one article where it was like, you should not ask a person who is bi if they prefer one gender over the other. But that the one that did that stupid thing with the apartment, she was saying that she preferred women over men because she had been assaulted by a man in the past or something. I said, it's so funny how the article tells you don't pigeonhole them, don't like do this, but then they do that to themselves. Like they say these types of things. And I was like, man, you just can't win with these with this stuff, I tell you. I'm not even joking. I probably would never, and you can call me homophobic if you want. I don't have a problem with gay people, but I probably would at this point never be interested in a bisexual woman, just because I've seen two different instances now where they use their I guess confusion about their sexuality as like a way to back out of commitments that they make to you. And I just think it's a really scummy thing to do. So I probably like if I know any of them are that, I just won't even say anything or show any interest because there's there you shouldn't use your I guess interest in both genders to get out of commitments that you make to somebody. I just think it's really lousy, but whatever. I'm sure I'll be interpreted as having a problem with chicks that like chicks, but I really don't care. You can like who you want to like. It's only when it gets in the way of something I'm trying to do that it gets irritating. There was one that actually left a comment on a video I did, and I was kind of like really not sympathetic at all. Like I didn't respond to it, didn't thumb it up, I didn't delete it, I just left it there. But I was just like, why are you here? I can definitely understand your stance on this. I agree with you too. It's very scummy thing to do. Chicks like that basically want to have the best of both worlds. Yeah, and it's like, because she was complaining about having all these men that approach her online or whatever. But I said this, I was like, Bimbo, you came to my channel. If you hadn't have said something to me, I would have never even known who you were. Like you did this to yourself. But see, that's why I told you that in this that what's part of that statement I had about how in this decade you're going to see women at their best. They will sit here and initiate stuff and with guys by putting themselves on the internet on all these different websites. And even though all these websites have ways for you to block and make it to where people you don't want to talk to can't speak to you, they still play victim. I'm tired of all these men online asking me out, even though I'm the reason that they ask me out because I go online and make myself available for them. Oh yeah, these men are really irritating, even though I keep speaking to them and I don't block them, so I keep letting them talk to me. But yeah, I'm really being harassed by them and I'm tired of all these men. It's like, what is that? Imagine what I would look like if I went on I don't know, Discord. I'm just like in all these servers, there's a whole bunch of chicks, and they say hello to me. And I'm like, help, help. These women won't leave me alone. It's like, but you can block them. You can leave the server. There's 900 ways to not talk to these people if you don't want to. Just like I'm not even joking. I had this was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, reverse the roles and you will see how ridiculous. But that's why I said people take chicks and they treat them like little kids who they coddle and make excuses for and turn into victims. And basically, again, they're to blame for nothing. But I had a person who's this relative, they were getting yelled at by another one a few weeks ago. And they were having a phone call where they were like yelling back and forth. And I was thinking to myself, like, if you don't want to speak to this person, you can hang up the phone. If they come over here, you can get in your car and you can drive away and go to, one of your friends' house. So they pretty much have several different ways where if they don't want to talk to this person about this, they don't have to. and they're still egging it on. They're still speaking to them. So they're doing this to themselves because they like listen, if some I don't have a car, so if somebody comes over, pretty much I have no I guess you know if you want to wait, just walk away, whatever. But like it's much easier for them to just get somewhere, like go somewhere and effectively for the most part disappeared than it would be for me. And they sat there just back and forth for like 30 minutes. And it's like they do this stuff to themselves. Like I said, online, you don't have to talk to anybody you don't want to talk to. The sooner people learn that, the better. But I was just saying it was a real conundrum to me that you have this woman who's like, "Oh my god, all these men are interested in me. They're all uh they're all swirling around me and I wish they would leave me alone." But then like I wouldn't even know who she was if she didn't make herself known to me. Like, dingbat, you came on my channel. I didn't even know who you were. Oh, it is the victim complex. And like I said, I don't feel sorry for them because this isn't like real life where you go to a grocery store or to the mall and then some guy comes up and you have to like awkwardly say, "Hey, thanks, but no thanks." On the internet, you get a message from some guy, you can block them. You can delete your if it gets that bad, delete your account, get off the website. And it's like most of the stuff that they consider to be like so disgusting or whatever is literally someone saying hello. Like I don't feel bad for them at all, man. And remember, they're not like me. That she's not on YouTube to make content. Her channel had like one video, which wasn't even a video. It was like a stream that she never got around to doing. So she's not on here to make content. So anytime she speaks to somebody in the comment section, she consciously made the decision to type something that got the attention of other people and then respond to it because people can respond to your comment and you don't have to say anything back to them. No, she's not here for any grand purpose or to convey a message. She's just here to watch videos and write stupid stuff in people's comment sections. Then when people respond, she wants to talk about help me, please, please, please. It's like give me a break. That's why I said I don't feel bad for them. They do too much stuff where it's like, are you serious? This is what I'm supposed to feel ashamed over? Yeah, they're just a group of people that everyone coddles for some reason. You know, I actually considered going to a strip club this week, and then I was like looking at the reviews of some of them, and I was like, would I pay a woman to just like sit on top of me for, and it's like $100? No, so I was like, all right, forget it. Hey, what's that famous phrase? The juice isn't worth the squeeze, dude. You like they're just not worth it, man. So I said I would rather just leave them alone. Like you want to look at some pictures of them, whatever. You want to call one of them up when you get really desperate, whatever. But as far as like trying to have meaningful, I accept that's not going to happen because they're always going to keep you at this like arm's length distance, and they can't really pick if they're going to treat you in a way that is above how they treat other men, which is like a bunch of gnats that they're trying to smack away. So even if you have like some desire or ambition to, do something more, even if it's not romantic, they're still gonna think it is and then, rebuff your advances and there you go. I mean, remember, I got turned down by a woman I didn't even ask out. I got, we did the stream on the broad. Um, I think it was back in May or June that ran some Discord server, and she thought I wanted to um go on a date with her because I said I like you, which I only said because she kept saying I didn't like her. So it was like really stupid. But that's why I said they just all think somebody wants to go on a date with them. With that, oh, what the hell? That's a lot for such a trivial activity. That's what I'm saying, man. Like there are like I've been familiarized with the fact that they have pay girls who you can give a certain amount to that's like a little bit higher than that, like 100 and something. And they'll just do the whole lay down thing like that, you know? So I said literally and figuratively the juice is not worth the squeeze. Like it's not worth paying that for such you said a trivial activity. Yeah, that's why I didn't go. Sure, but the point I've made before is that you are paying them not because you're going to have you have some actual belief that they want to be with you or you're going to have some relationship with one of them. It's literally just when you get desperate. When you feel like you need some kind of female companionship and you don't feel like going to 900 different stores and malls to ask out a bunch of chicks that are going to probably not do anything themselves except waste your time for months on end and you rather just get to the point. Yeah, I'd rather do something with one of them. How many regular chicks do you think just want money from men? You listen to these guys online. Get your money up. Become a millionaire. What do you have to offer a woman? They certainly aren't talking about your personality. Dude, I'm not even joking. Like the line between regular chicks and their more promiscuous contemporaries is really blurred. I'm just gonna say that, and we'll leave that at that. But yeah, nobody here is convinced that you're gonna have some meaningful romance with one of them, or that they're single. Like, oh, come on. Like the way you describe them is the same way I would describe random chicks too, because we know for a fact that a lot of them love to leave out the fact that they're with another man. I mean, I remember that one broad from what was that Instagram like early last year that I talked to for I think 2 or 3 weeks, and then only after a few weeks did she reveal she was with some guy. I was like, "Yep, that's my cue to leave." No, that's one of my favorite tricks that they do, where they pretend they're single until they're not. Because I'm telling you, they do that on purpose, where they have some guy that they're with, and they'll talk to you about all this stuff. They'll mention their mother, they'll mention their dad, but they never mention this guy until after they've spoken to you for a while. It's like that is not a little accidental thing. Imagine what Jem would look like. Hi, on Instagram doing this, and then some woman says, "Oh, that was a really nice picture," and then Jem's like, "Oh, thanks, I appreciate it. I've been going out and working out and et cetera, et cetera." Then 2, 3 weeks pass. He goes, By the way, you should come and work out with me and my wife." And the woman would be like, "Wait, why, if you had a wife, why didn't you say anything over the last couple of weeks?" And Jem knows why he didn't say anything, because he wants to show her his 420 his 422. He's afraid that she'll stop responding. Okay, that's because they want to ensure they get their fill before they jump ship. Yeah, they know what they're doing. And I even did that video. It was like two of them that did that same thing in that same month. I was like, you really think I'm gonna sit here and talk to you, and then you have some other guy doing all this dirty stuff with you? Really? That's my fate. I'm supposed to be the halftime entertainment for him as the main act. No, forget that. Even though, like I said, my biggest issue with it is the fact that these people online sit here and attack you and they'll go, "You probably are boring to speak to, and you're not entertaining, and you don't have a personality, and you don't have enough interest." But then it's like, if you're so boring, why do these chicks talk to you instead of the men that they're with? Like, what? Nothing matters as long as the money is good. Dude, I'm telling you, all the like awful traits that people assign to men, you can assign to chicks tenfold. Like, I've never seen some guys talk about how hot some woman was, and they're like, by the way, she's loaded. They know that if they see some woman they think is hot, they don't they don't care if she's a millionaire or her house is like downtown on the street corner. Oh, I bet they'll never be able to answer no, no, they don't. There's no rebuttal. That's why I said, man, it's like you live in the literal twilight zone. Oh yes, you can't get a woman because you have such a boring personality and you are so terrible to talk to. That's why all these different chicks with boyfriends want to speak to you instead of their boy. That makes sense. I'm convinced that most chicks don't care about men's feelings. Oh, absolutely. They only care about number one, and if you're not them, then you're in some deep trouble if you try to talk to them. Oh, here comes Jedi Master. Yeah, I'm not really that big a fan of him because he was sitting over there talking about how great chicks are and all hail the triangle. And you know, he said we need to just all get together and start having these big raids and plans and how we're going to get these chicks. And it takes like 8 guys to get one woman, so you have to like all commit to do different things for her, so she lives in this palace while all the guys are working all day long, because none of us are ever going to be equal to any of them. We're all just secretly slaves to the feminist led society. So I wasn't a plan of his run a train plan. No, that was one of the worst things I've heard anybody around this website. He wasn't the Jedi master. He wants to be the woman master. He's got all these blueprints and schematics on how he's going to attract them with his newfound wealth and various other plans and plots. So yeah, I don't even want to read his comments. I think I'll just pass on him for the rest of the day. You don't have to get rid of him or anything, but he can type to himself. I don't want to read his stuff. He said you have to ask out at least 100,000 women every year. You have to have a net worth of at least the same amount, if not 10 times more, so like a million. Have to own at least 10 cars. I was like, look, no thanks. That's a little too much for me. He said he's trying to get, how in video games they have like the different ranks, like the S rank if you do the mission, I guess, all the way perfect. He's trying to get the S rank with women. He's trying to check all the boxes. He said having an 8 pack isn't enough. When you exercise, you have to have a 10 pack. You have to be at least 7 feet, if not 8 feet. You have to have 900,000 different outfits of all varying colors to show how much variety you have as a person. Because when a woman sees your attire, she has a window into your soul. You have to have one of those sliding closets where you open it and then you can just be like teleported around the room. And some people have houses where it's so big that like they have a whole room where it's just a bunch of clothes, like racks and that is crazy to me. You might wear this stuff, like all this stuff together, maybe like twice a year. Like just I don't know why anybody needs all that, but whatever. I say no to asking them out. But that's only because you propose marriage now, and you first you go up to them in your little suit and tie, and it's always a different color. You ask the woman what her favorite color is. Then when you go on a date with her, you wear a suit that's the same color as her favorite color to make yourself seem more authentic for her. Because everything we do has to be revolved around women, including the color of the stuff we wear. It has to be corresponding to their favorite color. So you go up to them and you tell them about your wealth and all these different things you can do for them, and you always promise that if they marry you, they will never want a divorce because they're going to get so much stuff out of you. And then she says, "Well, what do I have to offer you?" And then you say to her, like any good old slave of chicks, "You're perfect in your own way." Dude, I really could picture somebody asking a woman like what her favorite color is, and then he like goes and spends like 200 to get a suit that's the same color. I could really like that's how backward stuff is now. I'll never bow down to the triangle. They want you to. By the way, I actually had this thing I had to go to where I had to I didn't have to, but they like I was asked to get a suit, so I went with three other relatives. One of them is like a little boy. Um and the one who bought the stuff was supposed to get it for like get a week in advance and then bring it over the Fridays we would put it on and we'd wear it and we go to the thing. And Thursday came before the Friday and we don't have the suits. So the other person who was with me that was an adult starts spamming, like sending the same thing over and over again. And the same three-word message. Where's my suit? And he sends this all the way into the night. Where's my suit? Where's my suit? Where's my suit? Until finally the other person gets so irritated that he just brings all the stuff over. But then after he brings the stuff over and he gets dressed in his suit, he notices that he doesn't have his shoes because this place also like they sell everything. They have the shoes, the sock, all of it. So he starts sending the same message. Where's my shoes? And then he sent him another message. We went to the store as a group of four, but I don't see my clothes anymore. Man, I would hate to get voicemails from him. It's the same thing over and over, like 20 voicemails in one night. Where's my suit? That's my favorite voicemail ever. I'm asking to send me a copy to my email. Dude, imagine like actually asking out 100,000 chicks, like just going on this world tour from to like every different region and getting maybe like let's say it's maybe I don't even think there's like a way to aggregate that because some countries have way more people. But the point is like you have so many of them that you've like kept in contact with that it does actually become impossible to respond to most of them because of how many of them there are. And you're talking to 1,000, like was it 100,000 of them every year just to get one to go on the date? And the funniest thing would be because of how many you're talking to, one of them be like who has some kind of like let's be writers here, has some kind of like attachment issues, thinks you've decided to abandon her, so she comes to your country and is like trying to get revenge or whatever. That could be a good plot for a movie where there's like some guy who's talking to so many chicks that he unintentionally ignores like one of the few that's semi interested in him until she goes insane and wants to get him. That'll be a commentary on how like men are set up to fail because you're told to ask out all these chicks, and then the more of them you speak to, the less time you have to actually focus on any of them. That's why I said if somebody wants to talk to, because people used to date, because dating is not the same as being someone's boyfriend or girlfriend. They used to date like two or three or four different people, like at the same time. You're gonna go on a date with this person, you go on a date with that person, you go date with this person. And it wasn't considered like cheat because you're not committed to any of them. You're just like trying them out, like, hey, do I like this one more than that one? Do I like this one more than that one? But now these chicks want you to be in these like weird quasi, I don't know what it is. Like sometimes you'll talk to some woman in a completely platonic way and she'll start asking you stuff that's like extremely personal. And you're like, you what is the purpose of this? Like, we're gonna just sit on the phone and confess all this stuff to each other for a friendship? Like, give me a break. I don't even tell anybody else this stuff. Magumi says we still haven't gotten the romance comic book yet. Well, there's definitely enough content for it. I got a whole backlog of videos of that stuff, man. I just like I told you, I have to write the script, I have to get the pictures, edit it. It's not something I can just whip up in a day. And I've the type of week I had where I was running back and forth with these damn employers every day. It took a lot out of me. So I'll see. And I don't even know what the schedule will be for this week because I know tomorrow, not tomorrow, on Monday, I'm gonna have I'm gonna be up at that place from like 6 to 2. And you can imagine I might be tired after an 8-hour shift from that early in the morning. So we'll see what the schedule looks like. No way, man. Imagine if they all said no. If that was the case, I'd probably go cereal. It would be so funny if you made a movie about, because how everybody always like tries to say this man that is not getting with women is going to become violent, even though we condemn violence over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It would be funny if there was some kind of movie where it's like it starts with some guy who's like 13 or 12 and he asks out a girl and she says no, and then he gets over it. Next year it's like it just keeps flashing forward by year. He asks out another girl, she says no, he gets over it. He's 14, he asks out his first girl in high school, says no, he gets over it. She starts insulting him, whatever. It's like the first time he sees one of them like really act crazy after all she had to do was just say no. Like the worst you could say is no is literally not the worst they can do. And then you keep getting these little flash forwards of him asking out chicks and saying no until it's like the sixth flash forward. This is all in like the first 10 or 20 minutes of the movie. And it's just a bunch of chicks just typing no over the computer and saying no to his face. Like they're all imposed on top of each other. And then he just like screams. He's like, to hell with it. And you would have the whole movie prefaced around this guy that wants to get revenge on chicks by going out and getting getting as in killing all these significant ones. Like the first one that turned him down, he doesn't target that one because that was back when he wasn't even like looking, like whatever. He just accepts that's a thing she did when she was a kid. But like the ones that he sat there and spoke to for months on end that led him on, he goes and travels to where they are to go and take them out because he's like, you wasting my time. You're not doing this to anybody else. But it'll be one of those plots where even if you don't, and obviously you wouldn't agree with someone doing that, you still understand after so much time of getting the same damn repetitive, overdone result why he would start acting that way and just be like completely disenfranchised to where he's like homicidal. Which again, it doesn't justify it, but it does make him to an extent sympathetic. Like, we were talking about this with Zod and Man of Steel. Like, you don't agree with him destroying Earth to make his own planet, but you understand if he's in doing what he thinks is in the best interest of his people, he's going to put their needs over some random Earthlings. Dude, there really should be some kind of movie about like all the chick stuff being preordained. Like there being this thing where like it just seems like it's these one-off coincidences. Um and like Because we can do that plot from both angles. Like you could have a guy that goes crazy from getting turned down over and over because all he wants is basic companionship. You could have a movie where it's a guy who gets turned down over and over. It's where he's just like, all right, forget it. And then people start like messing with him. Kind of sounds a little autobiographical here. And he's like, why do they care so much that one guy isn't like talking to chick? Because there's a whole bunch of men still around and asking out broads. So then as he like uncovers stuff, he finds out there's like a secret cabal of chicks who have all predetermined the results you're going to get and what men get selected and which ones don't. And it's all based on this strategic simulation of being a certain height and having a certain amount of money. But his whole thing is like, he doesn't want to join their group and then, be with one of their chicks because it's not based on actually liking him as a person. It's this preordained list of demands and requests that they have that most people cannot meet because of how ridiculous it is. Yeah, well, I won't condone it, of course. I would definitely understand that motive. Well, like I said, people just like anyone who does something for a really long time and gets the same result over and over, you just get sick of it. Like, I hate to bring this up, but there are a lot of people who have gotten fired from their jobs and they go up and do something to the employer or to the people that work there. And it's like, I don't condone that, but a lot of people feel like when they get fired, they have nowhere else to go and they've been treated unfairly and they want revenge. Again, you don't condone it, but it is a motive that at your core you could still understand to some extent or another. It's not like some random kid goes up to a school and just kills a bunch of innocent children like we saw in Uvalde. It's a person who's had their livelihood taken from them, and feels like the people who are doing it did it callously and could care less about them or couldn't care less about them. Excuse me, dude. Imagine like a whole movie where it's a guy who's like, "Why do so many people care if one man doesn't ask out chicks?" And then over the course of the film, there's like all these little clues of there being this big group of people. It's mostly chicks. There's some guys as well that are like making this pre-planned result where if you don't fit this extremely long set of criteria, you just will never get any reciprocation whatsoever. And they're trying to get the guy that recognized like the protagonist to join their group of like men that go around and harass other men for not talking to chicks. Exactly. We're beings with emotions, which factors into everything, especially our most essential biological function, which is binding and reproduction. And when women deny that, we feel cheated, especially when people tell you, because remember, you don't just get turned down. Everybody goes, oh, you will never get with somebody. Goodbye. Go die by yourself. You have people who sit here and what do they tell you? Jedi, next year, you may meet a woman who is very different from the ones from this year. And if you just give it enough time, women will show interest in you. But then what happens? The same thing over and over. And then when this same thing plays out, they don't go and say, hey, there's something wrong with these chicks. They keep doing the same stupid stuff to guys who have different approaches, who are who they'll still talk to for months on end. So clearly they're not boring or people they dislike in some strong way. They'll go and say, "Oh, you must have done something wrong." So basically, if you ask them out, it's your fault, and no matter what they do, they're never to blame for anything. And like I said, you look at this and you go, "Well, I'm just a person who wanted something that I've seen. I know that millions of people have had before me, which is a date, and then if you want to get married, have a family. This is all stuff that millions of people have done in the past, and they've taken this thing that was normal and turned it into this extraneous quest for a group of people who just I don't feel are worth it. I don't think are worth doing all this stuff to appeal to. And that's very sad because that means that we're going to be sitting here basically spinning our wheels, getting attacked by these guys and ignored by chicks just in perpetuity forever. It's something extremely basic and simple. Honestly, it really isn't a big deal at all, but they've made it that way. And remember what we talked about. You could go on a date with someone, like let's say there was some woman you didn't think was attractive, right? Even though like I usually don't even like, you know what I'm saying? Like there are so many chicks that I'm fine with. There are others that are hotter than whatever, but like there are chicks that you're fine with. You're like, she's good, whatever. You're content. Let's say you had to go for whatever reason, you decide to go on a date with a woman you don't think is attractive. If you don't like going on that date with her, like she's not fun to be around, boring, whatever, you never have to do it again. Like a date is not some binding contract. If you listen to some of the stuff people on here say, you almost would like, I'm not even joking. If you have to develop this extremely close, know everything about the other person, months or years long relationship with a woman just to go on a date with her, you might as well not even go on a date. You should just go get married. And hell, speaking of getting married, you have that in the Muslim religion, right? Where they get married and then they get to know each other over the course. Which again, I understand it's like a more binding thing, but I'm just saying that the stuff they want you to do for as basic as a date is, and for how non-binding it is really insane. Think of how crazy Jedi would look if he was like, hello woman, if you want to go on a date with me, you need to own this, and we need to, or because some of them like to do the homely thing, we should speak and get to know each other, and develop a friendship first, and become well acquainted with, and you're and the woman's like, okay, so how long is getting to know each other going to take? I don't know, but don't expect to automatically get a date for me just because we spoke to each other for 2 years. And she'll be like, what in the world? He's like, I won't show you my lightsaber until we've had 1 million hour phone calls. Like I brought up the strippers earlier, but it's like I fully expect with them not to develop anything. I only mention them because they're honest about what they are. They're chicks that you pay money to do gross stuff to you. You know, it's like there's no expectation on my part that that's going to turn into something that's meaningful, but most of these modern chicks try to trick you into thinking that will be the case. They want you to believe that if you just talk to her for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, you might end up dating her. And then when that doesn't happen, you're told by a bunch of people that you're entitled and you expected this and you expect too much and you have unreal, but you're like, they led you to, and that's why I said people set men up to fail. They tell you to do all this ridiculous stuff, to have this extreme amount of patience. And then when you're not rewarded for that in any conceivable way that's anything other than just her flapping her gums, you feel cheated and they tell you to get over it and go try with another one. At a certain point, you catch on and you say, to hell with this. Nobody's damn slave. No, men are set up to fail. Like if you listen to the stuff that people say on here, these advice videos and the stuff you even hear from some people in real life, they want you to do things that are going to lead in some way to a not fulfilling thing for you. I'll put it that way. Like I feel like if you asked most guys, they would say they want to meet some woman that they enjoy the company of, that likes to be around, likes to spend time with them. Again, very just basic levels of attraction, right? And then you got these guys talking about you need to be a millionaire and you need to go to the gym and it's like none of this stuff has anything to do with anybody's personality. And like I said, it's never consistent. I don't know any men that when they see a woman, they're like, well, I like her face, but I wonder if she goes and exercise or if she has a six pack. You've never seen any man say that in your circle of friends. But that's why I said you're set up to fail, because you're told to keep jumping through all these hoops for a group that has to do nothing because of their gender. And some people like will mention that oh, it'll be so fulfilling being with one of them. But remember what I told you about how they want slaves. You can't have, because romances are supposed to be two people that are partners with each other, that are equal to each other. You can't have equality in a relationship when the path to getting there was the guy jumping through a million damn hoops and the woman just having to sit there pretty like this, waiting for the guy to come and appeal to her in every conceivable way while she has to do nothing except exist. Like an equal relationship cannot be built from a completely unequal setup. I'll put it that way. And that's not even touching the surface of how men get treated as a straight heterosexual male too. Megumi adds, homosexual men don't go near the amount of harassment as straight guys do. Well, that's one of the things they love to do is accuse straight men who are unable to, I guess, get a woman to be attracted to them of being gay. Which I've always said before, it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't try to say this guy is going to do something to women because they turned him down, but then also say that he's like attracted to men. Like it doesn't. So I said like the stuff doesn't make any sense. They're talking out of both sides of their mouths when they say stupid stuff like that. But yeah, they give a whole bunch of. Remember, we had a guy in my chat. This was a couple of months back, actually, like earlier this year, or it might have been last year. At some point in the last 2 years, we had some guy that came in my chat calling me racial slurs and talking about if he saw me in person, he was gonna assault me. And I'm like, it's so funny how everybody says the guys that get turned down by chicks are gonna be violent and assault them or whatever. But notice, I'm not the one talking about what I'm gonna do to somebody physically if they do this. That's one of them doing that. That's a guy that's on the woman's side doing that. Just like they talk about like, oh, the guys that get turned down by chicks are supremacist or racist. Like I look at all the racial slurs that get written to me, and it's always from guys that don't agree with me on this woman stuff. So it really is just projection. Dude, I'm not even joking. If you listen to people online, if you listen to them, they act like if you get turned down by chicks, you're the worst person in the world. Because let me explain something to you. There are chicks who have abused their children, who have killed their children. There are chicks who have murdered men, who have murdered other women. And you will never see any of them get talked about as nasty and as disparagingly as a man that gets turned down by chicks does. You won't see anyone say to them that they have some kind of like psychological issue and oh my God, this is why nobody wants to be around them. Um, you only see this like this weird extreme condemnation toward guys with this problem because they again just world fallacy. They want to believe that you have to be the worst of the worst to just get nothing from chicks, even if we know that's not true. It's really sad, really really sad. And remember, all of this stuff started. All of the harassment, the personal attacks, the condemnations, the weird speculations on what your future will be, this all started from a guy wanting to go on a date with a woman. A guy wanted to go on a date because he thought it would be enjoyable. He thought it'd be nice to have some, companion that enjoys spending time with him and doing things together. All of this vile, nasty rhetoric, which has included threats and racist comments, um, and character analysis by internet psychiatrists, all of this started, all of it can trace its origins back to a guy that wanted to go on a date with a woman. And you don't see why I think this chick stuff is not worth anything. I just find it interesting how like you can go back to this really basic desire in a man of just like again having just female companionship and you can you can take that and you can trace all of these nasty behaviors back to that desire, that basic desire that a lot of men have, just because I mean, we're if you're straight, you're attracted to women. And it's like, man, it's really sad that you get that, like, this is the response you get for just making, even you don't even have to criticize them. You could just make a video and say, hey, I tried to go on a date with them, it didn't work. They never reciprocate. I really am tired of this. You could say nothing critical whatsoever. You could just talk about just being discouraged, right? And you'll have people still attack you. I mean, look at what they did to James. He did a video with the most polite milk toast tone I've ever seen, and he had some guy in the comment section talking about his hair is weird and his. It's like, what's wrong with you, man? That's why I said, like, people just they get caught up on these there's just no point in having a dialogue with them. If you find yourself wanting to talk to someone who doesn't agree with you on this, or who at least is not open minded to hearing something, and I'm talking, because there are people who will just listen, they won't try to like challenge you, or at least like argue back and forth, because they're not actually challenging your points, they're just saying stupid stuff in response. I wouldn't even bother like responding, because there's nothing good that comes out of these back and forths. They just want to believe that if you didn't get what you wanted out of chicks, you must have done something wrong, because it's always the man's fault. So I said, whenever I feel like it, I'm just going to draw a picture of myself hanging from a cross and make that my avatar on this website. you get nailed down for all the sins of chicks. If one of them wastes your time for months on end, it's your fault. If one of them asks you on a date but then reneges, it's your fault. If one of them agrees to marry you but then reneges, it's your fault. If one of them approaches you, like comes on your channel and then acts like she's so annoyed by all the men that show interest in her, it's your fault. Most of the back and forths usually don't ever address what was stated or said. It's just irrelevant nonsense. Dude, that broad harped so hard on my age for that like marriage. It was like, oh, you have women and I'm not even gonna call them that. You have boys and girls that have kids when they're in high school and sometimes middle school. And remember, they don't get arrested, they don't have to go to jail. And she won't say a word about that. But if you want to get married to some woman, you're gonna sit here and have a whole dissertation on my age. Are you serious? I said that to her. I was like, have you lost your mind? This is what you choose to focus on? Not the brainless twit that agrees to marry a man and then quits a few days later after she gets into an argument with her mother. Yeah, most of these back and forths are irrelevant and don't address anything. Remember, I think that same one was like, because I was saying, this has nothing to do with you. Why do you care? Oh, if you knew a serial killer, wouldn't you say something? It's like, no, this has nothing to do with that. You can't be arrested for not talking to women. Again, irrelevant nonsense. It's not illegal to just leave people alone. It's actually encouraged, because, like I said, there are a whole bunch of chicks that men have spoken to, and they get accused of harassing them and making them feel uncomfortable. And oh my God, he said this to me. Oh man, God, this stuff is so sad. Just the way people act and like all the stuff you have to do to get the most basic of things now. Like it's really sad. I see Jedi left the building. I understand he got a little bored. He got a little tired of the subject matter. I empathize with him. It's a shame, because I remember a time things never used to be like this, albeit I was much younger, but relationships seem more genuine slash casual, etc. Well, that's why I said the internet and a lot of these people that come online, they may try to convince you that this is just how things have always been, but there was a time where people actually cared about each other. They actually wanted to be together for who they were. When you spoke to some woman, you didn't have to worry about her talking to 20, 30, 40 other guys from across the world on some social media app that she's never even going to meet anyway. Um, all of this stuff started with the explosion of social media in like the 2010s and arguably even earlier that because the internet was in its infancy like in the early 2000s, but ever since then it's become very because like I said, the internet has taken chicks and surrounded them by a bunch of guys that they would have been otherwise never have met, who are extremely deprived of any attention from women, so they do all this coddling and pretty much reward them just for having a triangle between their legs. Um, that's why they'll donate to them, right? That's why they'll go and subscribe to them just because they think one of them looks pretty. You know, like they'll do anything for someone just because they think they're attractive. And it's like this type of worshiping of someone just because of their gender did not happen 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. Which is why it was a lot easier for some guy to meet some woman and then they go on a date, she likes him, whatever, then they continue. So yeah, the internet has really destroyed a lot of the basic things you could get from women. You know, like actual interest in getting to know somebody. You don't really have that at this point. Um, in a lot of ways, it's also made it worse because now they can, like a lot of them were attention seekers back then too. But like I said, they didn't have 10, 20 guys just stroking them because I'm telling you, some of them really think that they're better than a man is because they talk to a bunch of random men that want to screw them. Like they have egos and levels of beliefs in themselves that are the equivalent of what you think a major actress in Hollywood would have, who gets like asked out by all her fans. Instead, you have a bunch of chicks that no one's ever heard of who are turned into quasi celebrities just by having a few dozen or even a dozen guys just like constantly hounding them. And it's so sad, man, that things have devolved in such a way. It really is. And I don't joke with you when I say I really don't know what way to fix it other than to just have a whole like I just don't think enough guys are gonna wake up to it until I won't say it's too late, but it just seems like this indefinite thing that's gonna keep being screwy. Because like I said, chicks have been conditioned to never ask out men that they think are attractive, to never approach men under any circumstance. Like they don't have to do anything. And like you as a guy, because of your gender, have to do all these backflips and jump arounds just to like it isn't right to me. I'll put it that way. But like I'm gonna get off of here. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Thanks, Megumi. Thanks, Jedi Master. I think was he here earlier? No, he wasn't. Okay. Envoy was here briefly. Gem disappeared too, but whatever. So yeah, thanks for showing up and have a good rest of your Saturday. And I don't if I don't stream on Monday, which I probably won't because of the times thing that schedule thing they have me in, I'll probably do it on Wednesday or Thursday. So have a good rest of your day and weekend.